All right, everyone, please be seated. And defense, I believe it's still your witness on cross. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hey, officer, how you doing?
You're good, sir.
So I think we just got to the point, we dealt with the policy that you're aware of the policy we're dealing with traffic accidents, right?
Yes, sir.
And the need to warn vehicles and oncoming traffic of any danger,
Yes, sir.
using either your vehicle.
Yes, sir.
lights, Or flares.
Yes, sir.
Right, so what we're seeing now, I think this is states 1 or 2.
2.
States exhibit 2, this is your body camera, right? So I think the timestamp on it is 2:07:26. This is your camera, right? And this is you walking away from the first scene, the wrong way driver, right, back to your car.
Yes, sir.
And we'll fast forward it because we don't want to waste the court's time, but it probably takes you 3 minutes to walk back to your car. Would you agree with that? It takes the time.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. What we're seeing now, you'd agree, is the traffic that was backed up from the first accident.
Yes, sir.
You parked your car behind, right?
Yes, sir.
And so what we've seen there is that on the way, you've encountered a witness from the first incident, right? I don't want to hear what they said, but that's what happened there that we just saw.
No, sir. That was the husband of the wife.
Yeah, from the first incident.
Yes, sir.
The first accident, a witness, well, a person involved slightly in that first incident approached you, you spoke to him, that's what that person was.
Just by relation, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and now you're still walking to your car, and it's taking you nearly 3 minutes to walk back, right?
Yes, because he left his kid in the car, so I wanted to escort him back to his car.
Yeah, quite right, because the kids are in a running car, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's the car on the left-hand side,
Yes, sir.
stuck in the traffic jam that's been caused by the accident.
Yes, sir.
Right, and your car is still further back behind that. I mean, your car's towards us, right? You walk past your car, you're gonna walk back to your car, right?
Yes, sir.
And so here, it's 11 minutes past 2 in the morning. The fatal accident still hasn't happened. That's your car there, right, that we see in the screen?
It looks like it, sir. I had to look at the vehicle number.
Well, we'll look in a second because I think you get into it, right? But you can see on the screen, there is a line of traffic behind your vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm not suggesting it goes onto the horizon, but as far as the video is concerned, that line of traffic, I'm sorry, Jason, that line of traffic goes on as far as we can see on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and to the best of your knowledge, because you're not there alone, right? You're not the only officer at that scene.
No, sir.
That no one, dispatch hasn't sent someone to the back of that line of traffic.
No, sir. We didn't ask for more.
All right, well, so you didn't ask for one, but no one else thought, oh, I know what we should do because of our policy. Someone needs to go and warn traffic.
Correct, but all of our cars are trapped in the traffic as well.
But there are other vehicles. What I'm saying is there are other vehicles in North Patrol that could have come and helped you out, right?
It's a possibility. I don't know which officers were available.
I know, I'm not saying that you do, but my point is that no one came and helped you.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Apart from the other 2 officers that went to the scene.
The original 3 of us, yes, sir, that were just.
Yeah. Dispatch didn't send someone to the back of that line of traffic extending into the distance.
No, sir.
Because at the time you're walking back there, you're aware of that policy 707, right?
Yes, sir.
You're aware of the need to, because we said everything in these policies is for a reason, right?
Yes, sir.
It's probably because sometimes people are distracted or whatever, but they run up on accident scenes and they need to be warned, right?
Yes, sir.
And no one has warned them. Oncoming traffic.
Just the initial few that made the scene.
Yeah, but no one has warned that traffic behind you at the end of that traffic line, have they?
They weren't aware of a crash, but they were aware that traffic was stopped.
Well, but yeah, I didn't ask you that. But no police car was parked at the back of that line of traffic with the flashing lights.
No, sir. The new line, no, sir.
There were no flares at the back.
No, sir.
You didn't ask anybody to do that.
No, sir.
You didn't do that.
No, sir.
Your colleagues could have done. Right?
If we had available, yes, sir.
But yeah, I know, but there's not just 3 of you on duty that night, right? There's not just you, Officer Lechuga and Officer Rodriguez, is there?
No, sir. There's more
No.
of us.
So there are other people who could have done it.
If they're available, yes, sir.
It's not just you, officer, is it?
No, sir.
No, you're a team, you're a whole department, so someone could have done it
Yes, sir.
and they didn't.
Like I said, I don't know if they're available or not.
I know, we don't know if they're available. What I'm saying is no one warned the people at the back of that line of traffic that there was a wreck.
No, sir.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. So you go, we're stopped at 2:11, and I think that your testimony before was that you were completing your computer checks, as is your policy and procedure, right, in your car. And I think the next thing that happened is that you had stated that Officer Lechuga and maybe Officer Rodriguez ran to your position because they presumed that you'd been involved in a wreck,
Yes, sir.
right? And obviously you can't testify for them, but they presumed that because they thought you were the last vehicle in that line of traffic, right? Probably.
I can't think for them, sir, but they just presumed that I was involved in a crash.
They presume that you're probably because you're at the back and they think someone's come and slammed into you, right?
I'm going to object to speculation.
Sustained.
But you said that they presumed you're involved in a wreck and you weren't, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is about two. And then, so what you did then is you got out of your car and I think it's about 2:20 on the time stamp. Here we are. So there we are. Right, we'll stop there. So this is you doing stuff on your mobile data terminal or whatever you call it, computer, right, in your car.
Yes, sir.
And you're probably inputting stuff and doing checks on the first folks, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is when your colleagues come up to you and say, "Hey, did you hear that?" Or whatever they said, right?
Yes.
And based on the information they told you, you start making your way. I guess would it be south on 281?
Yes, sir. Southbound and the northbound.
Okay, and then we can at 2:19:36. That's you actually filling out a ticket on the screen right now, all right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and this is so. If we pause for a second, we're at 2:23:42, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is your colleagues informing you that they'd heard that there might have been another accident.
Yes, sir.
So this is about 20. So I think we had said that you'd arrived at 1:56
Yes, sir.
on scene. So you were originally the last vehicle in the line of traffic. That was as far as you could drive to walk down towards the scene of the wrong way driver.
Yes, sir.
23 minutes have passed since then.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
So you've got 23 minutes worth of highway traffic parked up behind you.
Yes, sir.
At this point, you make your way on foot, you start to walk, you said, and then in fact, you run when you identify there's been a crash. Is that kind of what happens next?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to play the video at 2:23:44. That's Officer Lechuga and Rodriguez, and then you're going to start moving off, right?
Yes, sir.
Whose vehicle is that in the shot there?
It was one of theirs.
And this one we're looking at now is yours, right?
It looks to be, yes, sir.
And so now what we're doing is we're watching you walk. We're going to watch you walk through the traffic that has blocked up or built up behind your car to the scene for Mr. Castro, right?
Yes, sir.
And is Mr. Castro the first person that you encountered that was involved in the wreck?
No, sir.
He wasn't? Okay. It was the driver of the HEB truck?
No, sir. It was the driver of the Volkswagen.
Volkswagen, yeah, right. So you've been walking 2 minutes, maybe. At this point, the timestamp is 2:25.
Yes, sir.
I think you left your car at 2:23.
It's roughly about that. Yes, sir.
2:23, so it's roughly 2 minutes, and you're walking past high-sided vehicles on the screen there.
Yes, sir.
And you're still not at the end of the line of traffic that's built up behind that initial crash or behind your vehicle.
No, sir.
Right. Right, okay. And so what we've seen is there's been a change in your method of approach. You're now running, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's because you've identified the fact that there's been another wreck.
Yes, sir.
Right, and that's at 2:25:40. And you see, you'd agree with me, officer, that on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see it in front of you, right?
Yes, sir.
On the right-hand side of the screen, there's like a high-sided box kind of truck on the right there,
Yes, sir.
and there's another vehicle. But again, that line of traffic has continued from the back of your car, and it's still extending far back, right? As far as we can see.
Yes, sir.
And you've now been on foot for nearly 3.5, 4 minutes, walking through that traffic backlog, right?
Yes, sir.
And you can now just about see the wreck in the distance. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Right, and we're gonna pause it there at 2:26:21, and that is that gentleman that you're talking to. I don't know what he's saying. I don't want to know, but that's the gentleman who's driving the Volkswagen.
Yes, sir.
So would it be fair to say that you didn't finish investigating the first crash, did you?
No, sir.
Because you got distracted by this,
Yes, sir.
and this one was much more serious, right?
Yes, sir.
So that kind of explains why you didn't finish the first one.
Yes, sir.
Right, so this is you speaking to the first driver that you encounter,
Yes, sir.
and then we're going to fast forward to when you meet my client, if we can. Thank you. So it's 2:26:48. So, officer, right. You've never met Mr. Castro before,
No, sir.
never met him since.
No, sir.
No. And so you know through your training experience, you went to the academy like how many years ago? 5 years ago, we said?
Roughly, yes, sir.
How many DWIs have you investigated?
Over a dozen, sir. I don't know the exact number.
Yeah, over a dozen, right? Okay. And so you've done, I imagine, how many investigations have you done into driving while intoxicated?
Quite a few, sir.
Quite a few. I mean, I don't want you, is it more than 20?
It would be safe to say, but like I said, I don't have an exact number.
Because what I'm going to say is, what I mean, where I'm trying to go with that is with your training experience, you know it when you see it, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you use in your initial interaction with a member of the public, when you either stop them or come across them, like here, is you using your senses, right?
Yes, sir.
And that includes using your eyes,
Yes, sir.
using your ears,
Yes, sir.
right, and using your smell. And this might sound overly simplistic, but these are some of the things that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration talks about, and that's NHTSA, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's the government organisation that it's the organisation that trains officers in the detection of intoxicated drivers.
Yes, sir.
And you're trained on their manuals.
Briefly, yes, sir.
Yeah, you are. That's the only training that you get from NHTSA, right?
Yes, sir.
And they talk about clues. You look for clues in an individual to see if they're intoxicated, right?
Yes, sir.
And you'd agree with me there are 10 post-stop cues or clues.
I wouldn't know the exact number.
If I tell you that there are 10 listed in the manual, would you have any reason to doubt me?
I would have no reason to doubt you right now, sir.
No, but what I'm going to say is that they are slurred speech, right?
Yes, sir.
The odor of intoxicants coming off their breath,
Yes, sir.
right? Because someone who has a drink, it goes into their mouth and into their stomach and it gets metabolized, right? You know that from your training experience.
Yes, sir.
And then what comes from that is the odor comes back up through the stomach and you can't tell what they've been drinking, right?
Not really, sir.
You can't say if someone's had wine or beer, right? Unless it's in their mouth still.
Correct. Yes, sir.
It's just the odor of metabolized alcohol.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't notice any of those on Mr. Castro.
No, sir.
Now, this is just the initial interaction you have with him. I stopped it for a reason, because you spend some time with him, a few seconds now, but over your interaction, you're at the scene with him for nearly 4 hours, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've been interviewed about this case a lot.
Yes, sir.
And you've maintained throughout there were no signs of intoxication from Alex Castro, right?
From my view, no, sir.
In your experience, I'm not asking you to tell anyone else, but you've arrested people for DWI
Plenty of times, yes, sir.
plenty of times, right? And in your report, you routinely say he had red bloodshot eyes or she had red bloodshot glossy eyes, right?
Depending on what I observe, yes, sir.
And these are some of the common observations. Red bloodshot glossy eyes is one of them.
Yes, sir.
Slurred speech is one of them,
Yes, sir.
right? And Judge, mate, you said I can move around the court, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you. You know, being unsteady on your feet is one of them, right? That's an observation that comes.
Well, I mean, you can move around the courtroom if you're approaching the witness,
Oh, well,
but if
look.
you're doing demonstrations,
Thank you. You know, being unsteady on their feet is one of them.
Yes, sir.
Staggering is one of them.
Yes, sir.
And the point I'm trying to make, you didn't notice any of that with Mr. Castro.
No, sir.
And the importance of that is you now know, right, at the time, you're just doing your initial investigation of this second crash. And you don't even know that Ms. Seaver is very badly injured at this point, right? But right?
At this point, yes, sir.
But what you find out shortly after is that Mr. Castro has been in a wreck where his vehicle is like not rolled end on end, but it's kind of rolled side on side.
Yes, sir.
And you'd agree with me that according to your training and experience, that can bring on that rotational effect on the body and the inner ear can bring on what's called horizontal gaze nystagmus, right?
Yes, sir.
And that is one of the primary clues that you look for in a DWI investigation.
For individuals under depressants, yes, sir.
Or for an DWI with either through alcohol or drugs, right?
Depressant drugs.
Yeah, maybe, but like either one, you'd expect to see nystagmus in the eyes, right? Sometimes
If it's alcohol or a depressant drug, yes, sir.
you'd expect to see somebody intoxicated, and you might also see that in somebody who's been like spun around really quick on a circus ride.
Correct.
It's called rotational nystagmus, right? According to NHTSA.
Yes, sir.
There's also post-rotational nystagmus, right? Where kind of like where somebody's been spun and the inner ear's been spun and their gyroscope is off, and it can cause your eye to jump.
Yes, sir.
That can happen as well. And you didn't notice that in Mr. Castro when you meet him now, right?
No, sir.
Because you'd agree with me that we've been watch this video, but he's literally getting out of the car. That accident's just happened.
Yes, sir.
And if he was going to have any of those signs, he's going to have them then.
Yes, sir.
So you're the best person on that scene that we've got depicted here to notice any signs of intoxication by him. Mr. Castro.
Yes, sir.
Because you qualify, but you're trained and experienced, you've done this dozens of times.
Yes, sir.
You know it when you see it.
Most of the times, yes, sir.
Most of the time, yeah. Gonna play the video at 2:27.
What's up, man?
I was going to say, but this hand was in the way. So you sit behind him, you see all the airbags deployed, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so in a normal investigation, because there are different ways that officers can come into contact with members of the public, right?
Yes, sir.
You can do like a consent, a normal search, or a normal encounter with somebody where they say, "Officer, can I talk to you about something?" That would be called a consent encounter.
Yes, sir.
There can be one where you say, "Hey, you're speeding," or you're not wearing your seatbelt, and that would be a traffic stop, right?
Yes, sir.
Or something like this, which is called a community caretaking.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, what?
Community caretaking, I'm sorry. Where, you're there to make sure everyone's safe.
Yes, sir.
But in your report, you would notice if it was a DWI investigation, which it's not, you would report, you're trained to observe how people get out of vehicles. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because that's called initial contact, according to NHTSA,
Yes, sir.
or personal contact. So a DWI investigation is split up into phases, right?
Correct.
There's the vehicle in motion,
Yes, sir.
stopping sequence, right?
Yes, sir.
Where you stop and then an exit sequence, right? So what we've just watched, or what we're watching now, is called the exit sequence, called the NHTSA, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're trained to note in your report, and in fact, you make no observations in your report that Mr. Castro had any difficulty getting out of this car.
No, sir.
You're trained to say if they stumble, right?
Yes, sir.
If they can't get the seatbelt on,
Yes, sir.
if they've got any kind of problems with their motor functions, which might indicate intoxication.
Yes, sir.
If they're holding onto the door pillar to get out of the car,
Yes, sir.
if they get out of the car and they have to lean on the car.
Yes, sir.
You're trained to, that's what I mean, there's all these clues that you're trained to observe. Right?
Yes, sir.
And you probably regularly observe these with members of the public.
More than I would like to, yes, sir.
And we can agree that this is about as serious an incident you can ever go to as an officer, right?
One of them, yes, sir.
Yeah, and it is. And you didn't notice any of those things with Mr. Castro.
No, sir.
Now, so he speaks to you here, and you get an initial account of what happens, and then you say, "Hey, there's another car," and you leave, right?
Yes, sir.
So you see one to the rear of Mr. Castro's vehicle, which is very damaged. You see one of your colleagues running off because they probably identified him as Siebert, right?
They observed the vehicle, yes,
They
sir.
observed the vehicle. Yeah, I'm sorry. They observed a very badly damaged vehicle with someone who's injured in it. And so they're running off, and you say, "Oh, I'm going to go," right?
Yes, sir.
But are you aware of what's perceptual distortions to you? The phrase perceptual distortions.
Perceiving something that may be farther than it actually is.
Well, what about auditory exclusion? You know what that is, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, what's that?
Basically, when you're under high levels of stress, you lose your sense of hearing.
So perceptual distortions, right? You've been trained on that at the academy,
Yes, sir.
right? Okay. And would you agree with me that would be where you under, did you say high level? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Auditory exclusion is where sometimes your hearing closes down. What did you say? Sorry, officer.
High levels of stress?
Under high levels of stress, right? You'd agree with me that that man on the screen, I mean, despite what's happened, he's been in a rollover accident, right?
Yes, sir.
So he's, right now, he doesn't really know what's going on.
I'm gonna object to speculation.
Sustain.
But you know what auditory exclusion is?
Yes, sir.
And you know that stressful through your training experience. In fact, you felt that in this incident yourself, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
You remember being interviewed and you told people that that's what you experienced in this incident,
Yes, sir.
right? Because it must be terribly stressful, right?
Yes, sir.
For everybody involved,
Yes, sir.
right? And that means that sometimes you can perceive things differently because of the stress that comes on you,
Yes, sir.
right? So from now you run to Miss Siebert, right?
Yes, sir.
And you help there. Okay, but eventually you come back. So what you're going to do is go to the other vehicle.
I got EMS coming to check you out. Prepare with me.
Yeah. Because, there you go. We're going to pause it there real quick. This is you at Miss Siebert's vehicle. The prosecutor asked you earlier about the vehicles that were slowing down, because now you're basically, this accident has happened and there's vehicles building up behind it right now as we speak, right? While we're watching it, as you perceive it in real time, there were vehicles braking and coming up to this accident. There was traffic building up again behind it.
Yes, sir.
Right, and the prosecutor asked you, you said that you, at this point, I believe about this point, if we play it, you're trying to slow that traffic down.
Trying to get their attention. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and how are you doing that at this point?
Using my flashlight and trying to shine it at them.
Yeah, and so you're, how are you gonna motion in something? You had your flashlight in your hand
Yes, sir.
and you were flashing it at traffic,
Yes, sir.
and what was that to do?
Try to get their attention.
And also, because the prosecutor asked you, were they slowing down?
When I got their attention, yes.
Yeah. So you needed to get their attention to slow them down.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because and it's not a trick question. There's still vehicles coming at you, despite the second accident. There's a line of traffic approaching behind you, and you're still having to slow them down with your flashlight,
Yes, sir.
and that's actually working, right?
To a degree, yes, sir.
To a degree, yeah. I mean, you know, thank goodness it wasn't another accident. But at this point, there's still no one stopping traffic. You're the only one now with your flashlight, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Because look, you've got vehicles driving through the debris there. Keep going. There you go, stop. So that you can see that what we just saw there is that you've still got, but it's still a need, officer, because otherwise you wouldn't have done it, right? For you to shine your flashlight on people, even though there's uniformed police cars with a very severely damaged car, you still felt the need at the time to flash at people to slow them down.
That was all we had at the time.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that's all you had. That's all you could do. Your car's stuck down there. But you'd agree with me that what should have happened is someone should have been behind you warning traffic, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and in fact, Mr. Escobar asked you, and I believe it was later on, he said to you something along the lines of, what's the difference now on your Coban? Can you switch to stage one, Daniel? 301, 45. And the Coban is your dash camera. We're gonna fast forward it because like you said, you were there for 7 hours. It's very long. So what's happened here? This is your dash cam, right?
Yes, sir.
Also known as a Coban for San Antonio Police.
Back then, yes, sir.
All right, it's not called that anymore.
No, sir. We
All right,
switched
it's your
over to
dash
speed.
cam. Right, it's your dash cam. This is a forward-facing camera. Now, what's happened here is you've driven around and you're repositioning your vehicle.
Yes, sir.
The prosecutors asked you, Mr. Escobar asked you, are you going? You're on 281 now, right? What we're looking at here.
Yes, sir.
Are you heading south or north? Have you done the turnaround yet?
Looks like I've done the north, the turnaround, because it looks like TBC exits right there.
Okay, I didn't mean to talk over you. So TPC exit, I can't see that, but you're heading back to the accident scene.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the prosecutor said to you, what's different?
Yes, sir.
And you said the road's closed, right? Because we've got some flashing warning signs ahead. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what are they? What can we see on the left-hand side of the screen from the left-hand barrier?
Flares
Flares. And what are they for?
to help get people's attention.
Okay, And that's, now the scene is properly secure.
To the best of our ability, yes, sir.
So, but obviously, everything's to the best of your ability, right? But that's when the prosecutor was saying to you, what's the difference now? The highway is closed and the scene is safe.
Yes, sir.
And if it had been like this before, then is to the best of your ability or someone else's ability in the police, not just you, if someone else had,
I'm gonna object to testimony.
Sustained.
if somebody had followed that policy, there's a policy, right, 707,
Yes, sir.
and the first thing in 707, it's called responding to crashes.
Yes, sir.
And part of it says about, the first thing is under that heading, that this public document that you discussed is that you're to move a vehicle and use the flashing lights,
Yes, sir.
right? And that's to warn people about the crash,
Yes, sir.
right? And to protect people from injury,
Yes, sir.
right? And that didn't happen, but it's happened now.
I withdraw my objection.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that it's happened now, so the scene is secure.
Yes, sir.
If this had happened before, it might have prevented that.
I'm gonna
second
object to
accident.
speculation.
Sustained.
Should this, the way the scene looks now, should the scene have looked like this before, according to your policy?
It would have been an option, yes, sir.
Objection to speculation.
That'll be overruled.
So it would have been an option.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it would have been an option, but you agree with me that according to your policy, that's what should have been happening.
I'm gonna object to speculation.
That'll be overruled.
You can answer, so according to your policy, I'm not asking you to speculate, oh, well, this or that should have
All
happened.
right, counsel, please just ask the question.
According to your policy, this is the way, what we're seeing now at 30137, this scene is properly secured and there's sufficient warning to oncoming traffic,
Yes, sir.
right? And that's what it should have looked like before.
I'm gonna object to speculation.
That'll be overruled.
According to your policy, you can answer, officer, please.
Yes, sir. That would have been nice.
And then, so, I want to talk to you about something else that we talked about earlier, and I want to revisit it. So we said that one of the purposes of an investigation, or one of the things of an investigation, is split witnesses up,
Yes, sir.
and it's difficult to do, right?
Yes, sir.
And you do it to the best of your ability,
Yes, sir.
right? But there came a time when you'd agree, and we watched the video earlier, Mr. Castro said you go back to him at around 3:10, like an hour maybe later, and he then says to you, hey, you've asked him several times what's happening and what's happened, and originally he doesn't know he's hit something, right? And then he's landed on the Volkswagen, right? That's kind of what he said the first time.
He said he believed he hit the truck.
Yeah,
Big
you're right, you're right. Sorry, thank
All
you.
right, so everyone, I'm going to say this for the last time. The court reporter can only take down one person at a time. So question needs to be asked. After the question is asked, witness will answer, and then the next question will be asked. I know sometimes we talk conversationally, but when we're talking conversationally, court reporter can't take down everything, and jurors can't hear everything. All right, ask your next question.
Mr. Judge, I'm sorry, I'm trying, Judge. Can't remember what I said. Yes, so yeah, Mr. Castro said that he thought he hit the truck. And the truck being there was an HEB truck and trailer there, right?
Yes, sir.
In fact, he did kind of hit it a little bit. He kind of bumped into it.
According to TID's investigation, yes.
Yeah, I mean, do you know that from speaking to your colleagues at the scene?
After TID made scene, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not asking you, I know you're not a crash reconstructionist, I know you're not, but from talking to your colleagues, you know that he did actually come to rest and touch that truck.
Yes, sir.
And you know that his vehicle went airborne and landed on the Volkswagen.
Yes, sir.
And his initial account was, I hit him, I don't know how, to that effect, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's his initial effect, comments to you when you pull him out of his car, out of his truck. And he didn't know how he went airborne, but he knew he was in the air.
He didn't mention he was airborne the first time, but he just said he hit the brakes.
Yeah, hit the brakes and then he's in the air. Right, Suits. Right?
Around the third time when I talked to him, he said he rolled.
Yeah. Because you spoke to him several times.
Yes, sir.
Right? And eventually you get to a point when he tells you that he didn't know what he flipped on and he didn't know it was a woman in that other vehicle till one of the other officers had told him, right?
I don't know. I wasn't there when he mentioned that.
If we show you a video, would it, your body camera, would it refresh your memory?
It will refresh my memory of where it happened, but
Yeah.
I don't recall that.
Okay, well, we'll,
Excuse me. So is someone seeking to refresh his memory?
we're just gonna watch the video again, Judge.
No, my question is someone seeking to refresh your memory? Because if someone is seeking to refresh your memory, then the jury needs to step outside while a memory is being refreshed, unless no one has any objections to a memory being refreshed contrary to the rules.
You can excuse the jury, Judge, if that helps.
No, I mean,
Judge, no objection from the state.
all right, you can refresh his memory in front of the jury if it can.
I'm like trying to put in my, and that little Honda just like came into me and like, what do you mean the Honda split into you? I don't know, it was like into me, like, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to what she was doing, or I didn't know it was her actually, so. the officer told me it was her. Yeah, so the guy.
So yeah, that was you talking to Mr. Castro, right?
Yes, sir.
And you'd agree that he says that he didn't even know it was a girl or a her until another officer told him that it was.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Right, so he's been given that information by someone else.
Yes, sir.
In fact, a police officer, maybe.
Possibly I wasn't.
I'm just saying, you know, because it's difficult scene to keep people separate and isolated, right?
Yes, sir.
And so at this point, was he free to leave?
No, sir.
No. And so, because if he'd have tried to, because you earlier you said that he was asking one of your colleagues, he being Mr. Castro, asked if he could leave. And he was told he couldn't, right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
2 hours after, it was 2 hours after the fact.
Sounds about right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so if he'd have, I know he didn't, but if he'd have, in your training and experience, and you as an officer, if he'd have tried to run away, what would you have done?
Brought him back to the scene.
You just run after him and stopped him. Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's not a trick question, I promise. But, and you'd agree with me that he said, hey, I don't mind giving you a statement, but can I go? Words to those effect?
To that effect. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And he said, words to the effect of my wife's here, can I go and see my wife?
He did mention that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and he wasn't allowed to go and see his wife.
No, sir.
No. And you in fact at one point told one of your colleagues that I can't cut him loose.
Yes, sir.
And by that, I imagine that's a police term for like, I can't let him go.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so, you know, the jury might not know that, but there are no magic words for arresting somebody, are there, in your job? You don't have to say you're under arrest.
I'm gonna object to that's a legal conclusion.
Sustained.
So you know, well, yeah, you don't have to tell someone they're under arrest for them to be under arrest, right?
I'm gonna object, that's a legal conclusion.
Any other objections?
No, Judge.
All right, that'll be overruled. You can answer the question.
Sorry. Officer, when you arrest people, do you say, hey, you're under arrest?
Yes, sir.
You do, but so you do?
Yes, sir.
Do you have to?
Yeah.
You
Yes, sir.
don't, right? You don't have to say you're under arrest for this offense.
I'm gonna object to relevance.
All right, that'll be sustained. And the question has already been asked and answered as well.
But either way, at this point, Mr. Castro is not free to leave. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, four.
I'm gonna object to asked and answered.
Sustained.
But the time at this point when he's not free to leave is 4:21.
That sounds about
All
right.
right, the objection has been sustained.
Oh, sorry, Judge. I thought we lost a different question. But that wasn't the last time people spoke to Mr. Castro about what happened.
That is correct.
Right, after he'd been told he can't leave.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
So he's not under arrest at this point.
No, sir.
It's yours, but he's being detained.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that he thinks he's under arrest?
I'm gonna object to speculation.
Sustained.
Well, Judge, pass the witness, thank you.
State. Redirect.
Very brief, Judge. You were dealing with that first accident for about 20 minutes, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How many other accidents occurred while you were out there dealing with that first accident?
Only one, sir.
And which one was that?
The one involving Mr. Castro.
Now, defense has talked a lot about SAPD policy and about, I believe the document they're reading from, it said to park the police vehicle, utilize emergency lights and flashers in a manner that best provides warning of the crash to approaching vehicles to protect persons from injury and to provide other emergency vehicles access to the scene. That's the complete portion. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that what you did?
Yes, sir.
What time did that second crash happen at?
Around 2:20, 2:24,
Well, what happens at 2?
reckless drivers come out.
Sorry?
Reckless drivers come out.
And again, I'll ask again, what happens at 2 a.m.?
The bars close.
Now, you heard him give his story at least 4 times, right?
Yes, sir.
The first 3 times, did he ever change many details?
No, sir.
It was generally the same story.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree that there was quite a bit of time between when he gave the first story to when he gave the last story.
Object to leading.
Sustained.
How much time passed between his first story and his third story?
At least over 2 hours.
And they were relatively consistent.
The first 3, yes, sir.
What changed in the last one?
He claimed that the Honda was driving erratic and was bumping from median to median.
Did any other witness say that?
No, sir.
His defense asked, couldn't he have change his story because he heard someone else say it?
Yes, sir.
Ask the witness.
Recross, yes.
To be very brief, Judge, because I
No.
forgot to do something earlier. You got it right.
Oh, yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's the same policy that the officer was talking, Mr. Escobar was talking about.
Yes, sir.
Judge, I'm gonna offer defense one, into evidence. Judge opposing counsel for.
No objection.
All right. Defense number 1, that's the manual.
Well, no, Judge, it's the video on traffic accidents.
All right, the defense exhibit number 1, so the record is clear. What specifically is defense exhibit number 1?
San Antonio Police Department General Manual, Procedure 707, crash investigation.
All right, and how many pages is it?
It's 5 pages.
All right, it's 5 pages, defense exhibit number 1. Any objection state?
Your Honor, I would object just because there are markings that are on that copy unless it's a fresh copy that is.
All right, could I see defense exhibit number 1, please? All right, if I could have parties approach. Is admitted without objection.
Because I want to clear up a tiny bit of confusion, maybe it's me. I know we've been over this in detail, right? You're aware of this policy, now this is in evidence, right? It says, come down to, on the first page, 0.04 responding to crashes. Right,
Yes, sir.
now, with regards to the crash with the wrong way driver, right? You agree with me that you parked your police vehicle utilizing emergency lights and flashes,
Yes, sir.
right? Okay. And then and I believe the testimony was that you had walked. It was approximately, and I don't want to misrepresent what you said, about 200 yards from your car to the actual scene of the crash, the wrong way driver crash.
That was my guess, yes, sir.
And approximately that traffic buildup that happened in 1 minute, right?
It happened in a couple minutes because we arrived at 1:55, but the call came in earlier. I don't know the exact time. I don't have I don't have the IDR.
And again, I think you testified that it was at 1:55 that you were dispatched around.
That's when I arrived on scene, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, and you were dispatched a couple of minutes before.
Yes, sir.
And already there was a 200-yard, in your estimation, line of traffic.
Yes, sir.
Right, so and you did put your vehicle there with the flashing lights on.
Yes, sir.
But you were on scene for 25 minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
And you went back to your vehicle to write your report and do your checks.
Sounds about right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, doing your computer checks, you got your driver's licenses and you checked to see if they've got warrants and all that sort of thing, right?
And to verify they actually have licenses.
And yeah, and to verify all that because you're supposed to. But remember, we looked at the video when you went back to your car, as far as you could see, there was traffic parked behind your car.
Yes, sir.
There was no one at the back of that line of traffic warning anyone else that there was a wreck.
No, sir.
Right, okay. And that's what this policy demands.
Yes, sir.
You didn't do it?
For the second crash, no, sir.
No. You didn't ask anyone else to do it?
Initially, no, sir.
And dispatch didn't do it?
No, sir.
No. So that scene, the second scene was completely unprotected,
Yes, sir.
contrary to the police department policy.
Yes, sir.
And I'm talking about the second crash, serious one.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you, so got possible.
Nothing further from state.
Right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excuse from the state.
No objection, just.
Oh, is he excused?
Yes, Judge, yeah.
All
No
right.
objection.
If you'll leave the documents behind, remember the rule has been invoked. What that means is you cannot discuss your testimony with anyone or view anything. Only persons, if you have to speak to someone, you're allowed to speak to our attorneys for the state or the defense. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Does anybody need a break? If not, we'll go on to the next witness. All right. Okay. State, call your next witness.
The state calls Sydney Fusca.